Hey lady, welcome to the Postpartum on Purpose podcast. If we haven't met, my name is Anne-Marie. I'm wife to James and mom to 5 beautiful kids, ages 9 down to 2 months, with 1 miscarried baby. It is my hope to help other women experience postpartum as a time of grit, growth, and grace. This is episode 65. Hi lady, I hope you're well. Let's go briefly through our free things, which if you've been around for a minute, you know we do free things every week. And the point of that is twofold. One is to remind ourselves that a good, rich, beautiful, meaningful life can be found without breaking the bank, especially the larger your family is. And then point 2 is that part of living a rich, full, meaningful life is recognizing all the things that we have to be grateful for. And an easy way to do that is just to take note of the free things from one week to the next. 2 things this week that I wanted to bring up. One is that my friends at Soma, yes, the bra and underwear company, sent me an email and they said, you have a $15 reward. And best of all, I was able to actually find an item that cost less than $15, just under $14.98 pre-tax. And that item was in fact free. And even better, my sister was willing to pick it up for me. And when I went to visit my other sister, she brought it over to our house, which was super kind. Point number 2, my good friend won a pie at a fundraiser, and she passed it along to our family. So we have a Honeycrisp apple pie in our possession, briefly, this evening. Next, let's briefly talk my one small change from the week. One small change is just this idea that during postpartum, good things are always happening, but sometimes they're so small that if we don't stop to take notice of them, they sort of we don't notice. Like if we don't pay attention on purpose, then we can miss them. And the one small thing this week was that while we have been homeschooling for 6 weeks now, and for years overall, but we are 6 weeks into the school year, I historically have made my lesson plans. That's not true. I have written down the lesson plans for the kids in the plan book on Monday based on what is due for every single subject for each kid. And Mondays have felt stressful because I'm trying to do that as they are starting on their handwriting already. It's no surprise that they have 2 pages of handwriting or 1 page of handwriting to do, but I've just felt flustered. And last week, it occurred to me, maybe before we finish school on Thursday, because we school Monday through Thursday for about 4 hours a day, maybe I could do the lesson planning on Thursday, write it all out in the plan book for them, or at least most of it, so that Monday morning, by the time it rolls around, it would already be written down what they needed to do, and nobody would be waiting on me for anything. It was a small thing, a very small shift, but I did find it made a difference. I noticed that I was more calm entering into Monday, and by extension then, so were my 3rd and 4th grader. That being that, let's chat about or introduce our guest host for this episode. Grace Shepard is the guest host today. I was so pleased with how the recording turned out that she sent me, and I'm particularly glad that she talked about the 4 pillars or areas to focus on if you are preparing your body for a hopeful future pregnancy after the one that you have recently completed, whether that's recently a month ago or a year ago or however long. And the 4th pillar that she brought up is really a key one and something that I learned a lot about in my managing editor position in this past year, which I stepped down from in June when Cecilia was born. But I was hearing a lot of buzz, and not like as in legitimate research-based buzz, meaning research is showing us these things that are very important to take note of now, not as in this is the TikTok trend. It's going away next week. It's not a word like Riz. That, I just really appreciate that she brought that to the forefront because it's important. It's important that we talk about it. Am I being cryptic? I'm trying not to give it away. I'm trying to let her be the one who introduces it. But I will just simply say I'm very grateful for her taking the time to record this episode for us. I think you will gain plenty from it. All right. Without further ado, Grace.
Hi friends, my name is Grace Shepard. I am just really excited to be here today and to take this time to guest host on the Postpartum on Purpose podcast. It's an honor really to sit down and chat with you guys today. Just briefly, a little bit about me. As I said, my name is Grace. I live in New Hampshire. I'm married to a wonderful man named Jack. We have 3 children. Our oldest is almost 4. Then we also have a 2-year-old and then a 6-week-old. I was a nurse in the emergency department actually before my oldest was born. And then once we had kids, I knew I wanted to stay home with them. However, in the last couple of years, I actually started a business working with mothers, specifically utilizing labs in my business like blood work, gut testing, and another test called a hair tissue mineral analysis. I use these tests to help women either maintain or regain their health as mothers so that they can continue to kind of live out their vocation or God's mission for them in their life without feeling like their health was in the way. Motherhood is obviously just such a beautiful, wonderful gift. But as we all know, it can also be really exhausting at times. It's a lot of giving of ourselves, whether that be during pregnancy, when our bodies are growing new life, or in that postpartum season when we are recovering and feeding a newborn, or when we are juggling several little kids at home. Now, I'll never be one to sit here and paint motherhood in a negative light, but today I do want to talk about the importance of stewarding your health in between pregnancies and kind of what that looks like. So when it comes to our health postpartum, the focus here is kind of twofold. One being recovering from our most recent pregnancy and birth, and then potentially preparing our body for one in the future, another pregnancy in the future, should that be God's will for our family. So being in some state of depletion postpartum is common, again, between growing new life, birth, breastfeeding, but replenishment from that is totally possible if we are really intentional in that season of being postpartum and maybe preparing our body for a potential pregnancy in the future. So with all that in mind, I want to share with you 4 simple but powerful areas that you can focus on in this season between pregnancies. Things that will help you kind of restore, rebuild, and be ready for whatever God has in store next for your family. And I'll say also, in addition to that, it's never too late, never too early to be thinking about these things and implementing them. So the first of the 4 things is probably an obvious one, but I need to touch on it, is just the idea of nourishment. Food is going to be the biggest factor in this season. And as you're probably thinking to yourself already, as busy moms, it can be the first thing to go, right? Skipping meals, eating our toddlers' leftovers and calling that lunch, right? When we quote unquote forget to eat or don't nourish our bodies, don't make nourishing our bodies a priority. When we do this, when we forget to eat, when we don't nourish our bodies, not only are we not rebuilding those nutrients, those vitamins and mineral stores that are so necessary in breastfeeding, pregnancy, and life in general, but we also are decreasing our stress resilience, our day-to-day resilience to just the stress of motherhood, the day-to-day of just taking care of children at home. Things, when we feel like our stress resilience is going down, things that normally wouldn't set you off, things that normally don't bother you, start to become more of an issue. We feel more stressed easily. We feel more overwhelmed more easily. When we aren't eating, things like blood sugar swings happen where our blood sugar's all over the place. Our body's not getting what it needs to kind of keep up with the demand of everyday life. And we're not helping ourselves in that when we're doing that. This can also lead to things like mood swings. It can even lead to things like sleep disturbances, so much. The what is important here, obviously, what we're eating. We want to be eating mineral-rich, nutrient-dense foods, things like aiming for about 100 grams of protein a day, prioritizing those healthy fats like avocados, colorful fruits and vegetables for those vitamins and antioxidants, but also thinking about the how as mothers is important too. How can you better prepare for your meals? Do you need to make lunch on the weekend so it's ready to go throughout the week? Kind of prepare it ahead of time so that you're not skipping that lunch hour? Do you need to come up with a list of some go-to breakfast ideas that are easy? Whatever area you struggle with when it comes to this, start there. Now, a question I get a lot is okay, what about supplements? Because that kind of matters too in some regard. What about supplements? What is important? And to that, I will always say food first. Don't go to supplements just because you aren't eating or you're not, you're skipping lunch. So you're well, I'll just take supplements and get the nutrients that way. No, food first. Supplements like prenatals, for example, aren't meant to replace our diet. They're meant to enhance it. Truly the word supplement, it's supposed to supplement what we're eating and not replace it. So while yes, they are helpful, supplements can be really, really helpful. And I always encourage women to prioritize supplements when they can or when they're necessary. I definitely focus first and foremost on food and how you can improve that area first. So the second point that I want to talk about was just prioritizing rest and kind of daily rhythms in your life. Now, obviously we know sleep is important, but as moms, sleep is oftentimes less than ideal depending on what season we're in. So while yes, we want to optimize our sleep as best we can, sometimes we have to look elsewhere for ways to help our bodies rest. And sometimes that means focusing more so on kind of what I like to call quote unquote nervous system rest. Now you may be asking, okay, what does that have to do with recovering from one pregnancy and preparing for the next? When we're constantly in that state of kind of fight or flight, go, 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 our nervous system can really suffer. When our body is constantly stressed like this, it uses up those minerals and vitamins that we're getting from our food at a faster rate, which can continue to leave us depleted in some areas if we aren't being intentional. So what can that look like? It really comes down, honestly, to prioritizing what is realistic in your current season. You're the one that knows your life best. Sometimes that's as simple as going out for a slow walk, even if the kids are in tow. It could be prioritizing prayer time. It could be a few minutes of breath work or simply pausing in the middle of the day to take a few deep breaths. We might not all be able to carve out an hour of solitude, an hour by ourselves. I would imagine that for a lot of us, we're not in that season, but we can build in small rhythms of nervous system rest. And over time, those little moments make a big difference in kind of helping your body recover. The third point I want to focus on is strengthening and restoring your body's function. Kind of as we've already discussed, pregnancy and birth place a lot of demand on our bodies. And while rest and nutrition are key, movement is also such an important piece of recovery and preparation for the future. I'm not necessarily talking about starting this intense workout plan or rushing to bounce back from this pregnancy and this postpartum season that you're in, but this is more about gently kind of rebuilding strength, especially in areas like your pelvic floor and core. Think of it kind of as giving your body the tools that it needs to support you in daily life. And if the Lord blesses you with another pregnancy, to carry that life with maybe more resilience this time. I highly recommend to any pregnant or postpartum woman to look for a pelvic floor physical therapist in their area to help with recovery after birth and to prepare their body for the next pregnancy and birth. I can definitely say confidently that going to a pelvic floor physical therapist during this last pregnancy of mine is a big reason why my pregnancy was largely pain-free and my birth and recovery were definitely the best that they've been out of my 3 experiences. If you've been wanting to get into kind of incorporating more movement, I'd start to create the habit with something you already enjoy doing, like something as simple as just going for walks, or picking up something that is low time commitment. Because odds are, if you decide you want to start exercising more, moving more throughout your week, picking this long, extensive program or committing to too much, hoping that your kids cooperate, it might not work out. And that can leave you frustrated, feeling defeated, and ultimately just ends up leaving you quitting after a week or 2. Movement or exercise can be a really good mood booster. It's great for circulation, detoxification pathways. It helps our bodies, once again, prepare for any future pregnancies by building up our strength and that resilience. Some favorites, if you're in a place where you don't already incorporate exercise into your weekly routine but would like to. Like I said, going for long walks first and foremost, that's an easy one. There's an app called Sculpt Society that has more Pilates style workouts, so more gentle workouts. Nourish, Move, Love on YouTube. It's literally just that, Nourish, Move, Love, those 3 words on YouTube. They have so many options on there, you guys, for like short workouts, long workouts. You just put it up, you start the video, you do the workout. Some of them don't even require any kind of like weights or anything. You can do like body weight ones. So easy, so helpful as a mother, and it's geared towards moms too, which is perfect. And one last point here. I know that working out with your kids around is hard. I know a lot of us can't find a time where our kids aren't there, so that's really the only option is to do it when they are. If you can find a time where they're busy or sleeping or whatever, great. But for a lot of us, like I said, we might just have to kind of include them in our workouts. Accept that there will be interruptions, and remember that it's still worth your time and energy no matter how the workout goes, no matter how many interruptions there are. So then the last, real quick, of the 4 points is actually to spend some time thinking about your husband's health. That's something that not everyone thinks about. There's a lot of focus that's put on the woman, obviously, but ideally we start thinking about this within at least a few months of conception. But again, just like with these points above that I've already talked about, it's never too early, never really too late. Anything is better than nothing. Like I said, preparing for another pregnancy isn't about just you as a mother. Dad's health obviously matters too. Things like having him eat a diet similar to what I talked about before, the nutrient-rich diet, make sure he's getting those healthy fats in, getting enough sleep, prioritizing exercise, especially for men, that is really, really helpful. Keeping stress in check as much as possible. Those can have a really big impact on his health and therefore sperm health. So just a little encouragement here. Stewarding health is a team effort. There's actually some research out now. I'll say this last point. There's actually some research out now that placental health, baby's placenta, may be primarily impacted by the father's health. So it is really, really important that both of you are stewarding your health well in this season. So then one last point I wanted to make, kind of like a little bonus tip or piece of advice, is to, if you can, get labs done in this season. Like blood work. The above 4 points that I've talked about are applicable to everyone, but what I can't tell you is exactly what you specifically need in this season to recover and prepare your body. Labs like blood work, like I said, or another test I run called a hair tissue mineral analysis, those help you actually see where your body is depleted or struggling instead of just kind of, throwing spaghetti at the wall with supplements and hoping something sticks. So if you're feeling stuck, if you want to prepare better going into this next pregnancy, if you've struggled in previous pregnancies or postpartum seasons and want to optimize your health this time before getting pregnant, this could really, truly be life-changing for you. And I don't say that lightly. This is really the heart of the work that I do with moms, is helping them understand what their body is saying and giving them clear, simple steps forward with the help of labs. Because the truth is, stewarding your health between pregnancies does not actually have to feel overwhelming. With the right information, you can make confident choices that really, truly restore and prepare your body for the future. If this is something you'd be interested in, I have a couple of programs on my website and invite you to visit my website to see if any of them might be a good fit for you. You can find my website at graceshepardwellness.com, or you can also find me over on Instagram at Grace Shepard Wellness. It's GRACESHEPARD Wellness. It's been such a pleasure, you guys, being here today to guest host this podcast. I pray that you feel encouraged by what I've shared, and I pray that you are able to come up with a good plan going forward to steward your health well as you recover from your previous pregnancy or pregnancies and birth, and prepare for any future ones that God might have in store for your family.